There's a lot to look forward to, or at least be curious about, on television and streaming this winter. New series will arrive starring Anna Paquin, WGN's Bellevue, Sean Bean, The Oath on Crackle, and Tim Robbins and Holly Hunter, HBO's Here and Now. Unreal on Lifetime and Strike Back on Cinemax return after long hiatuses. High-profile projects like The Alienist on TNT, Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams on Amazon, The Looming Tower on Hulu and The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story on FX are generating their own buzz. And favorites like AMC's The Walking Dead, PBS's Call the Midwife, Showtime's Homeland and IFC's Portlandia, in its final season, promise to bring happiness to their fans. All that plus this very abbreviated list of particular highlights detectorists in its final season, this most wistful of comedies homes in on the essentials. Will the metal detectorists Lance, Toby Jones, and Andy, Mackenzie Crook, break through their passive-aggressive armor and not hopelessly fumble their love lives? And in one of the most quietly suspenseful storylines on TV, will they find their white whale, the Roman horde they're convinced is buried in a local field? Answers are provided at the hands of the show's peerless cast, including Rachel Sterling, Diana Rigg, Rebecca Collard, Sophie Thompson, Mr. Crook, and the endlessly expressive Mr. Jones. Acorn TV, January 15. High Maintenance, the comedy that gets the pretensions and anxieties of certain precincts of 21st century Brooklyn just right, opens its second season on HBO with a typically clever episode. The borough reacts with dismay to an unspecified but horrific event that immediately increases demand for the Weed Guys product. HBO, January 19, Planet Earth, Blue Planet 2, the further underwater adventures of David Attenborough, the manager of Nature's Instagram account. Coming 17 years after the original Blue Planet, this 7-episode follow-up puts a greater emphasis on man-made threats to the world's oceans, but the spectacular, voyeuristic images are as purely pleasurable as ever. BBC America, January 20. Counterpart: two types of thrillers, the paranoid Cold War and the dystopian science fiction varieties, are overlaid in this nifty series, which posits alternate Earths that intersect in a Berlin basement. The premise is explored in reasonably plausible ways, but the real incentive to watch is J.K. Simmons, who plays two roles, a gentle paper pusher in one world and a cynical tough guy in the other. It's as if the Simmons of Growing Up Fisher met the Simmons of Ounce eventually. Of course, the two men have to impersonate each other, at which point it's Simmons squared, which is pretty hard to beat. Stars, January 21. Two dope queens, Phoebe Robinson and Jessica Williams's popular live podcast gets a 4-episode TV run, directed by Tig Notaro and filmed at the King's Theatre in Brooklyn. Each episode has a theme and a star guest, including New York with Jon Stewart, Hot Peen with Titus Burgess and Black Nerds with Uzo Aduba. HBO, February 2, Altered Carbon. Joel Kinnaman headlines a series for the first time since The Killing, so this cyberpunk crime thriller set in a future when your consciousness can be stored on a disk and downloaded into any available body is, by default, worth checking out. Netflix, February 2. This Close the Deaf actors Josh Feldman and shows Hannah Stern wrote and star in this sharp, charming lo-fi dramedy about a pair of best friends, a blocked gay writer and a professionally stymied publicist. Watching the two argue furiously, obscenely, and silently in front of the uncomprehending non-deaf never gets old. Based on a series of shorts shown at last year's Sundance Film Festival, it's directed by Andrew Ahn, Spa Knight, and also features Zach Gilford, Keiko Agena, and Cheryl Hines. Sundance Now, February 14. Tell Them We Are Rising, the story of Black colleges and universities. The documentarian Stanley Nelson's latest examination of African American culture, being shown as part of PBS's Independent Lens series, is a brisk, absorbing and revelatory history of historically Black colleges. PBS, February 19. The Americans. It's the end game for the Soviet spies Elizabeth and Philip Jennings. 10 final episodes before we know their fate. Season 6 jumps ahead to 1987, 2 years before the fall of the Berlin Wall and 4 before the end of the Soviet Union. Philip is out of the game, prospering in the travel business and cheering on their son's hockey team, while Elizabeth is in deeper than ever. The show may have lost some of the nerve-stretching excitement of its early seasons, but Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys still make Elizabeth and Philip indelibly real. FX, March. Hard Son. Neil Cross, the creator of Luther, wants every minute of a show to feel like the end of the world, and he'll leap past all bounds of plausibility and sound dramatic construction to make it happen. He's at it again in Hard Son, a murder of the week cop drama dressed up with an internal affairs investigation, attempted matricide and the end of the world. A London detective, Jim Sturgis, and his new partner, Agnes Dean, run into trouble when they uncover a secret of apocalyptic proportions. Hulu, March 7. Jessica Jones. The best of the many Marvel series returns after a nearly 2.5-year break. No screeners, but Melissa Rosenberg is still the showrunner and Kristen Ritter is back as the surly, hard-boiled heroine. Netflix, March 8. Rise or Friday Night Footlights. Josh Radnor stars as a frustrated teacher who takes over the theater program at a Pennsylvania high school, pushing aside a veteran drama coach played by Rosie Perez, in a series created by the Hamilton producer Jeffrey Seller and the Friday Night Lights showrunner Jason Katims. NBC, March 13. The Terror and Able crew including Jared Harris, Ciarán Hinds, Tobias Menzies, Adam Nagaitis, and Ian Hart sets sail in this handsome mix of historical speculation and supernatural horror. Mr. Harris and Mr. Hinds play the captains of the British ships Terror and Erebus, which disappeared while trying to find the Northwest Passage in the 1840s. Based on the novel of the same name by Dan Simmons, the 10-episode series features ice, Inuits, hubris, hunger, and a mysterious polar predator. AMC, March 26. The Child in Time. This BBC masterpiece film is a CliffsNotes version of the sci-fi-inflected Ian McEwan novel of the same name about loss, regret and the nature of time. But it offers fine performances by Benedict Cumberbatch, Kelly MacDonald, and the excellent, unheralded Stephen Campbell Moore, The Last Post. PBS, April 1.